Let's do it.
All right, everybody. So welcome to another Sunday Market Blitz. We got a few more people in the waiting room. Every single week, Nick and myself, we hop on, we go over all of our analysis for the week. We've been doing this for almost 4 years now. We've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
So we come on, we both perform our analysis. We're mainly looking for swing trades. Nick covers 6 pairs, I cover 6 pairs. The session is recorded. If you guys have any questions, feel free to post in the chat. We are also going to do a giveaway. So all you got to do for the giveaway is just post on your IG story a picture of you on the Sunday Market Blitz. Ideally a selfie, but if it's just a photo of the screen, that's fine too. And yeah, tag the funded trader and tag Forex League as well. So that being said, I'm going to hand it off to Nick. He's going to get started and share up his screen and we'll get into it.
Let's do it. So guys, as Angelo said, I'm going to run through 6 assets, including DXY. And we start off with DXY, not because we don't trade this, right? We just analyze this because we want to be aware of the overall trends, because the US dollar makes up for a large percentage of trade, right? It is the safe haven currency. And as we've seen lately, when the dollar moves, a lot of the market reacts to, some degree. So we want to be aware of the trend. So that's what this analysis here on DXY is going to represent. And I'm going to take you guys through my method. So we go to the daily time frame. Don't worry about these boxes. We'll get to that in a second. But all we need to do on the daily time frame is assess the trend, right? What are characteristics of a bullish trend? Higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. It's moving upward, right? So this is very bullish. We could see we just got our next higher low here, which touched this prior high. We found some support there, nice double bottom, and took off. So this is still very much bullish. That's all we need from this time frame. So we can take that info, drop to the 4-hour, and then assess 2 scenarios. So I'm going to highlight two scenarios. Usually one's bullish, one's bearish. Sometimes when it's looking like this, I'll just see nothing but bullish scenarios, right? I'm not going to really try and predict, a pullback and then, new structure. It's just too far away from happening. I like to zone in on what's possible based on where price action is. And we can see currently we're at a high. So I have these 2 long scenarios. So one of 2 things is going to happen. Either this is going to keep rallying. We haven't hit our high yet, right? If that does happen, we'll look for where the high forms, then we'll catch the pullback, look for the next higher low in the sequence, right? Because that's what we want to see, a higher high, then a higher low. And then we can, say, okay, the dollar's bullish. It's going to continue. We can get confident behind a bullish dollar and take that info onto, major pairs. Now, if it does pull back now, this more represents the higher low after we hit a new high, right? Because we want, minimum 38.2, which is our first structure point to be hit. So once price action gets up this high, let's say, then pulls back, this would then become a nice confluence area. Okay. But as of right now, there's nothing on this chart that says it's bearish, right? So I can't comfortably draw in, any bearish scenario suggesting that this is going to pull back and, start tapping some support levels. It's just not here yet. So here are the, summarize, statements. It's color coded. Blue is blue, orange is orange. So it's likely price action will continue rallying before we see structure form, right? This blue line here. And this one is the secondary. We will look for higher lows above 107.6. Ideally, 38.2 lines up with 106 by then. So like we just discussed, we had that nice confluence area. That's what we'd be interested in. But going into this week, we can use this info because the dollar's bullish, right? We know that it's probably going to keep rallying. So now we can jump over to our first tradable pair and have some better understanding as to what's happening here, right? Because AU is inversely correlated to the dollar. So that means if the dollar moves up, we'll see the chart here, AU move down relatively, right? It's not pip for pip, but overall trend, it's usually pretty accurate, pretty inversely correlated. So let's do the same thing on AU. Jump to the daily, clear up all the objects, and then just assess the trend. So what's been happening here? Lower low, lower high, lower low. Previous test of a lower high, so it's still held, still bearish there. Shot down to a prior low, lower high, lower low. Came back up, and it did break here, but we are finding some chop here. So this was bullish on this climb here. Once we took this level out, we got a higher low. Now it's going bullish, and now we're breaking this higher low again. So it's looking like we're going back to bearish. Okay, we took this out here. The only thing that we need to see now on this time frame to say that's full-blown bearish is essentially a lower high, some sort of retest of this higher low here. So if price action hit a low here like this, came back up, gave us a lower high, and then continued, that's essentially the only thing that we need to see now on the daily. So closer to bearish, let's go to the 4-hour and then go over these two scenarios. So look at this rejection. We just came off this level pretty hard, dropped, took out 0.7, dropped again, and now we're right near 0.685. Okay, so we saw a bunch of support in the past. This has definitely been a key zone. So based on where price action is, right, it's resting at key support after a high volume drop. There's really only two ways this can play out. Either it's going to take out support, 0.685, and just mow through that thing, or we're going to find some reaction at support and it'll bounce. Okay, ideally, if it does bounce, you'll look for some sort of, probably 30-minute or 1-hour high or low to then enter on somewhere in this area where you could see, the execution line is. Okay, and then we would look to target back up towards 0.7. That's only if it bounces and if you see lower time frame higher lows, right? You need to confirm that there's some sort of, bullish trend here, whether it be on the 1-hour bullish trend, 30-minute bullish trend, doesn't matter. You just need to see that conviction kind of step in here. If it's clear, then we'll enter on it. If it's not clear and it's choppy, then we'll just let it pass and wait for the next setup. Now, one thing that would be really cool is if, I'm going to draw this in right here. So here's the fall. If we can get some sort of tight consolidation, maybe some downside wicks, and then a clean break like this, that would be very interesting to us, right? So if this happens right here, you could then gain some confidence and maybe scope out a long position, right? And then just for the sake of visualization, we have a 2-to-1 marked up, right? Just about 111 pips we're looking to get, risking about 55. Okay, so that's the long scenario. If it bounces, right, we're not predicting, we're just going to follow the market if that happens. And that is if AU bounces at 0.685, look for a clear reversal to enter on. We just covered that. The second scenario is it's likely AU is not done falling. Look for a significant break of support around 0.685. And if you can, look for lower highs below, right? If there is this much volume in the market and it does take out this level, we might not even get an entry. But if it does form something like this, you definitely want to, consider it if you do get a retest of this level. So break, retest, then entries in here. Okay, but with high volume stuff, again, guys, if it does break, it could just drop. So your window of opportunity could be pretty small. All right, so that's AU. Let's jump over to AJ. We're going to do the same thing. Daily time frame, guys. Clear up the chart. Get rid of the objects. So what's going on here, right? What's the overall trend? We're here on the daily on AJ. Higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. Very much bullish. But one thing we can see now, even without any zones, this is consolidation. Look at these peaks. 1, 2, 3. Pretend there's a resistance level there, right? And then 1, 2, 3 for support. This is a range. We're bouncing between, two levels. Price action's restricted. Overall, we are bullish, but that's just something interesting to know as we drop down to the 4-hour. So here we are. Let's square this up. All right, so remember, we're bouncing on the daily. Let's just zoom out to give you guys the 4-hour view, right? A lot of bouncing between these zones, even down here a little bit. So we're in the more constricted area. So just be aware of that. And now, okay, let's break this down. So 95 is resistance, 93 is support. We know we've been bouncing quite a bit. This isn't really anything. Sure, it's like, it looks like it's some sort of channel, but as long as this high is here and this low is here, there's really no direction, right? So 2 scenarios. We're near resistance. There's only really 2 ways this could play out. Either it's going to reject and we'll head back down towards 93, which oftentimes if price action's in a range, it'll do that. It'll just bounce, right? This is where it's in right now. It's just in bounce zone. So if it does reject, look for a nice clear reversal, some nice wicks. Ideally, if you can spot some lower highs, that would be nice. Just suggesting that it's a really strong downtrend about to, step in here. But this is the area where we would be looking. And then we target down towards 93. Again, just playing the range. We're looking to get about 140, risking 60. It would put us well over a 2-to-1. So that's the most likely. If we're in a range and it's bounced a bunch, the most likely it's going to just continue that range, right? I'm not going to try and predict the breakout. Like who can do that? We have to follow what the market gives us. And in a range, the most likely is it'll just keep doing that. So for us to consider this bullish, we need to see, to consider AJ for long scenarios, we need a higher low above 95. So price action breaks above, right? Gives us a nice higher high and then pulls back for a higher low. Good structure. We'd be interested in entering on that. Okay, so notice over here, or all of these actually, we broke above, right? We got our high, price action came back, it retested, but then it failed to follow through. Never got above the previous high. So that's a fake out. Came back down, tried to do it again. Right, this one got a little bit further, but still a fake out. Didn't have the conviction, didn't clear this high. Same here. It didn't really get above, but it just rejected pretty hard. So we're really going to wait for that higher low, right? That's the confirmation. That's the sure thing that tells us, okay, we're off into a new trend, right? This is going to continue, right? We haven't seen that in all these other examples. So just be aware, be patient, really make sure you're looking for the right conviction. And then you could have a good trade there if it does continue bullish. So that's AJ. Let's jump over to UJ now. Damn, this thing, I mean, this one's not looking much better, but let's go to the daily, clear this up. Overall, what is this chart? Bullish or bearish, guys, right? Higher highs, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, retest of the higher low, right? So it's very much bullish. We just bounced off this level. It's going for the new leg, very much bullish. Again, this is riding off DXY. I mean, that makes sense, right? DXY is pushing up, UJ is pushing up. UJ is actually a lot more dramatic. So you'll see this kind of look like it's moving a lot more than DXY, right? Just a lot more percentage-wise. So that's the daily, very much bullish. Let's see what's going on the 4 hour. So here's the recent break, right? We just took out 134, 135 resistance, right? Popped above. Now we're looking for structure to confirm this, right? So right now we're at 137. We can't do anything with price action up here. I can't buy it, right? Where would you put your stop loss? Just not enough price action there. I'm not going to short it, right? Just lack of price action again. So all we can do is wait and then mark up our two scenarios as to what we would like to see to happen in like the most, ideal scenario possible for us. 10 out of 10 trade. We just mark those up and then wait. It executes or it won't. But as of right now, you can't do anything either way. So these are the two scenarios. To continue long, we need this to pull back. See structure, right? 38.2. We want to hit that. Line it up with a nice confluence area. 135 supports there, right? This should be a good level to catch a bounce. Enter long on that. And then we're risking about 80, looking to get, we're risking 60, looking to get about 155-ish, which puts us just over a 2-to-1 risk to reward, which isn't bad. I'm risking 1%. I'm getting 2.5 back. Not bad at all. So we're waiting for that. Just got to see reactions, but for us to consider the opposite, we need to break back below 135. So this whole move needs to get negated, essentially, gets corrected by bearish price action. We hit a low, form the lower high, and then continue bearish from there. Obviously, that's pretty far from happening. Whoops. So we have the long scenario only in place here for visualization. But so we're looking for structure confirmation close to 135 for a long opportunity up to 137, right? Bounce continuation, or price action has to fall below 135.5 to consider it bearish again. Okay, so these are just like little summaries. But yeah, that's UJ. Gonna be waiting on that one. EJ is looking good, guys. EJ is looking real nice. Let's go to the daily first, see what's going on here. All right, so let's just follow price action because this has kind of been some high volume change of trend quite a bit. So let's just follow it. Okay, so we broke out here, got the high, higher low, or no, high, higher low here, and then it continued to a new high, higher low, higher high, previous, right? Came back down, we hit a low. So this is where it gets interesting. We took out this higher low, formed a lower low, comes back up quite a bit. It does technically qualify as a lower high, right? But then this is the move. Lower low, lower high. We're lining up right with this prior low. So it's getting ready to either continue or change trend, right? So this is very interesting. It's bearish on the daily. We need to go to the 4 hour now and be really aware of this zone that we're at right here. This is the key zone, 137. If we're below it, we're bearish. If we're above it and seeing structure, we're bullish on the daily. Okay, so really, whichever way it does choose, it's probably going to take off with a good amount of volume. This is probably going to be a sizable move that we're going to see on EJ this week. So what has to happen for us to consider this bullish? We need to break 137. It's got to push up right now, start giving us characteristics of a bullish trend, right? Higher highs, higher lows, good conviction, good sized candles. That would then interest us for entering long on this. And we're looking to get about 235, targeting our 140 resistance level. And we're going to risk about 60 pips. So it's putting us close to a 4-to-1. Now, something else to note here, guys, we have a bit of an inverse head and shoulders pattern. Here's the left shoulder. Here's the head. Here's the right shoulder. And we have yet to break. So that means the neckline is pretty much right here, 137. This is the make or break. Seeing if it's going to execute. And this probably, if it does go bullish, it should have no problem pushing up towards 140. And we have a lot of room to run. And this, again, once it does choose, it's probably going to explode in the direction it chooses, because that's EJ. It's one of the characteristics of EJ. Whatever it chooses it's going to do, it does with 110% effort. So if it's going to be bearish, it's going to be super, super bearish. If it's going to consolidate and be choppy, it's going to be super choppy, super ranging, right? So just be aware of that. That's one of the characteristics of EJ. So for us to consider the opposite, to consider short scenarios again, we need to get back below 137, structure below, nice lower high. This would be ideal if price action followed this perfectly. We get a real nice short opportunity all the way down towards 133 support. That's where we would be targeting. Roughly, this would be your trade. Should be just around a 3-to-1, give or take where that execution actually comes in. But yeah, either way this goes, we're ready for it. Just need that conviction, guys. So quick summary for the blue trade scenario, look for entries above 137. This is an inverse head and shoulders. Be aware of that. And then to consider shorts, look for a clear push below 137 with a lower high to enter on. Okay, pretty straightforward, right? Try to simplify it. But that's EJ. So let's jump over to gold. It's going to be the last pair that I cover for you guys before passing off to Angelo. But we got some good setups here. This one's looking all right too. Let's go ahead, go to the daily time frame, and we're just going to follow price action. Right, so we've been moving lower here. So here we got a lower low, lower high, a little bit of consolidation. Then we started moving lower again. Big fall off to a new low around 1700. Price action popped up a little bit. It's retracing. And then we find ourselves at resistance right at 1800. It respected and gave us a beautiful daily engulfing. So this is bearish, right? Characteristics of a bearish trend. Lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Very clear. Let's now go to the 4-hour and go over these two trade scenarios. Just size this up. So what happened recently? We had a nice reversal here. Started off in some kind of weird expanding pattern. Volume was low. Candle started increasing in volume. Huge swing started to appear. And then we ran into 1800. Let me just size this up again. I don't know how it got off point. There we go, 1800. And then we started seeing some consolidation. We could even do this just to show you guys this is in fact a range right here. I'm not going to take the time to perfect these zones. I just want to show you guys, right? Lots of bouncings. This is a range. At this point, we're waiting for it to either break to the upside or break to the downside. Obviously, it broke to the downside. There's our first lower low, started consolidating. And that was the start of the bearish trend right there, right? Gave us a lower high, or lower low, lower high, broke major support at 1760. And now we're looking for the next low. Is it going to form a lower low around 1740 and then pull back? It might, or it could keep falling. We'll see. But we do have marked up what we want to see to get into a trade. And this would be a 10 out of 10 in my opinion. If price action pulls back, we get a nice lower high right up against 1760, and then good bearish conviction that we could then enter short on. And then we have a good trade sized up here, 200 pips for 80. And this would, vary slightly. You actually could get quite a big trade out of this, probably a 5-to-1 comfortably even. So that's a good move. Just wait for that. If it does pull back, this is textbook break and retest, right? Just playing between two zones. Pretty straightforward. Now for us to consider long scenarios, right? What do we need to see out of gold to then consider longs? We need to see a break back above 1760. So it makes sense if price action got back above this level where we've seen support in the past, kind of find a higher low there, then look to enter on that, right? Some sort of bullish conviction. And then we'll target back towards 1800 and then do the same thing all over again. So here's a quick summary. Looking for a lower high below 1760, right? To short, or if we break above 1760 and see a higher low, we can long. Boom. Pretty straightforward. But there is some waiting to be done this week. I mean, that's kind of what happens after you see a lot of volume or like a massive, trend change, daily change, whatever, right? You have a huge amount of volume. You kind of need this to calm down a little bit, and then it'll resume, normal structure. So last week was tough. This week's looking a little bit better. We'll see. But yeah, that's all I got that's all that I got for you guys. So any questions, guys, you could drop in chat while I pass it off to Angelo, and I'll answer in chat. But yeah, not bad. You there?
Yeah, I'm muted.
Oh, okay.
going on?
Welcome back.
We're back. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share up. Like Nick said, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to post in the chat. Also, make sure if you want to enter into the giveaway, just post a screenshot or a picture of you guys on the Sunday Market Blitz, tag the Funded Trader and tag Forex League as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share up. If you guys missed any of Nick's analysis, this is recorded, so we'll post it on YouTube after. Let's see. You see my screen?
Yep.
All right, cool.
You're good to go.
All right, so we're going to get started with DXY as always. We're going to first, I like to catch up on last week's analysis. We'll see how things played out, and then we'll get into what we're looking at for this week. So coming up to the weekly time frame, for those that have been on the Sunday Market Blitz before, you've seen that I always like to mark out 2 weekly levels to kind of see where the main areas of resistance and support are. We've had these levels here for a good amount of time, 105 area, and then 110 all the way up here. So we're pretty much just ranging between these two zones right now. And this is very important to understand where these zones are when you're actually trading, guys. If you don't have these mapped out specifically, then you're trying to just like winging it pretty much. So I always have these levels here. I look at where is price action in comparison to these levels. What is the overall trend? The overall trend is obviously for DXY, it's been extremely bullish for pretty much the last year and now a month. It's been in this bullish trend. And then when we zoom in a little bit, we can see actual price action. So the reason we were anticipating this thing moving up last week is very simple. We're in an uptrend. We're at a potential higher or low area. We're hitting our major support level. And then we're also starting to form some sort of reversal candles, price action right here. So those are all 3 indicators lining up for us to be bullish. And then as we come down to the 4-hour time frame, going back to last week, which was the 14th. So this is pretty much where the market opened, right in this area. So this is where we were on the call. We were looking at price to form some sort of higher low before going higher. Obviously, it never actually formed a higher low point, ended up just going bullish for the entire week. And it ended up moving up about 2.5% for last week. So considering DXY was so bullish last week, let's see how that played out in comparison with all the rest of the analysis. And looking at it for this week, once we reject a level like this, unless there's a major area of resistance, I'm always looking for it to reach this next area. So there's really, in my opinion, nothing stopping this from reaching back into this 110, 109 area. So that's ultimately where I'm looking for DXY to go. I'm looking for it to continue pretty much to be bullish. So coming over, let's do USD CAD first, because last week I pretty much got smoked on USD CAD. So we're going to cover like what happened on this pair. So looking at this on the weekly time frame, we had our resistance level right here. We had our lower support level down here, not as relevant. And then we just have this ascending channel that has been forming now for several weeks. And then we have very choppy price action here at the top. Pretty much had this higher high form. Then we had this double top right here. Price came down. We came up to test the resistance, and we followed that up with this bearish engulfing candle right here, although slight wick to the downside. But to me, looking at this last week, I was basically saying to myself, this looks like a prototypical setup. We rejected my red zone. This is a counter trend trade on the weekly, which is why it's a bit more risky for my strategy. But coming down to the 4-hour time frame, this is where we were on the call last week, right in this area right here. So I was pretty much just looking for a retest of this area, setting a limit order here, expecting for it to reverse, throwing stops pretty much above this area because this was our red zone. As you guys can see, DXY was very bullish, and I was actually mapping out DXY to be bullish on the analysis. So I kind of went against my own analysis there, and then we ended up just plowing through this, and now we're moving to the upside. This thing's totally reversing now. You could even see that we had this head and shoulders pattern right here. Not the cleanest one in the entire world, but regardless, definitely had some sort of reversal happen right now. So considering we just broke above our resistance zone. And then also we just mapped out that DXY is most likely going to continue to move up into that 110 area. I'm going to look for some sort of reversal. I'm not just going to buy right now. Definitely not advisable to be doing that. I'm going to look for price to retest this resistance zone and look for a bounce. And unlike last week, I'm not going to set a limit order here. Instead, I'm going to wait for it to come down, show some rejection, just be a little bit more patient on this one. And then ultimately, what are we going to target if we come back up to the weekly time frame and sort of look at where's our weekly levels? We have some major resistance right here that we're going to need to get through. Ultimately, if we wanted to swing trade this, we're targeting this wick. We're targeting all the way up here. Obviously, we're targeting for this thing to swing all the way up into the next major area of resistance, which I'm mapping out is all the way up in this 1.33 region. It's very far away. So we're definitely going to have to look at sort of shorter targets. Again, first like this level of resistance, then this level, and then ultimately that'll be the final target on this trade. But everything's lining up. I mean, overall, this is bullish. DXY is lining up to be bullish. So this thing is definitely lining up on multiple time frames, which is exactly what we're trying to see here. All we really need is this higher low point to get formed above the red zone. So just forecasting this for this week, if it does come down into this area, or should I say when it does, that's when we'll actually look to execute that trade. So if you guys have any ideas on UCAD, feel free to post in the chat. Feel free to post your own analysis. We're going to move on to NZD USD. So this is a trade that I am kicking myself over because last week, if I just took this thing on the call, we had basically mapped out what was going to happen on the call coming up to the weekly. We could see last week just dumped and definitely lined up with like multiple confluences here. So looking at the weekly time frame, we had, I'm just going to delete this level and this level because we just don't even need it at this point. I'm also going to delete this. So looking at it on the weekly time frame, we have this red zone marked right here. Now, if I zoom out, we could just zoom out to here. I pretty much have this marked because of this support right here. We even retested it right there. Resistance, resistance, resistance right there. We had some consolidation, not that clean in this area, not that clean in this area, but basically we had this retested multiple times. So I was labeling this as a pretty major level. It's also around the 645 area if we're looking at some psychological levels. But that was my red zone as marked last week. Coming down to the 4 hour, we had this huge push up on the 4 hour time frames. This wasn't a bullish trend, but we were in this major kind of sell-off area, retesting that weekly resistance that previously was respected. So this was just a great trade to take last week. I personally didn't take it. I mean, you could see there was some lower time frame patterns here, this like head and shoulders pattern on the lower time frame, which you could have probably took advantage of that. I just wasn't looking to get in on it until we had some sort of break and retest. So I pretty much jumped the gun on UCAD, and then I didn't, trigger on this one, and then you see what the result was. But looking at this for this week, coming back up to the weekly time frame, I mean, look at this bearish engulfing. A lot of times after some movement like this is literally a 4% move on NU, which is insane. So normally after movement like this, we have some sort of pullback just to retest, grab some more sellers before moving this thing to the downside. So I don't really want to get trapped into some sort of sell right now and then get pushed. This thing could retrace to here, could retrace to here, could retrace to here. I'm looking at these levels. So like we have this resistance level, this support level, and then back up into the red zone. So I don't want to get caught in some sort of retracement that takes me on this ride to each of these levels right here, right? This would be not a fun trade to be in, just riding this thing all the way over. So instead of taking a sell right now, we're going to want to wait and potentially execute at one of these levels in a sell, wait for some 4 hour structure to form, or we wait for this thing, we take all this off, if this thing is truly going to remain bearish, it's going to make another leg down. It's going to then retest this zone, which we're mapping out to be a more major level. And then we look to get in on the sell here. That would probably be the best play in my opinion. So NZD USD, thinking that the dollar, we just mapped it out to continue to be bullish, it's probably going to get another push to the downside. Curious what you guys think on NZD USD. If you guys think it's going to move lower, drop a comment. Personally, I do think it's going to move lower. It's got a lot of momentum before we get some sort of retracement. But again, I'm just not going to get trapped in the sell here. So that's just my honest take on NZD USD. Let's hop over to GJ. So GJ last week, for anyone that was on the call, we pretty much caught the trade. I personally didn't take it, but we forecasted the right idea here. So on the weekly time frame, we've had this level for a long time. There's like no need to explain it at this point. 165 is just major resistance. You can see it's rejected this area in a big way many times in the past. And then now we have this like whole double top situation going on at this level, getting really choppy in here, but this is overall just downtrend structure on the lower time frame. And then coming down to the 4 hour, last week we were on the call. It was pretty much, let's see where it was. It was in this area right here. And we had said that if price retraced into this yellow zone, that's when we were ultimately looking to take a trade. And then price came up. It came up, it retested that yellow zone, rejected it perfectly, right? We had two different rejections. Then we're starting to trend to the downside right now. If we zoom in a little bit, you can just see this like 4 hour structure starting to form, breaks and retest. So what are we going to do with GJ, right? Now that we've confirmed that we're continuing to the downside, I'm going to just come back up to the weekly and take a look. What does this look like? And this does not look like the best thing in the world. We're below the red zone. We just had a doji form. We are in a downtrend on the 4 hour, but considering we just had this reversal candle form, this tells me there's going to probably be a retracement back up, most likely up to this yellow zone at least, maybe up to the red area. So all that tells me is I don't want to take a sell right away. Like I don't want to just start to trade this like intraday. Probably want to wait until price again comes back into this area because it's just there's indecision right now, right? There's indecision in the market. The doji's forming, we don't want to get caught in a sell too soon. So I'm pretty much just going to look for a trade in this area. This would be kind of the first trade idea, putting the stops above this previous high. Targets would be here. Targets would be here. Ultimately, we could target even much lower. Then the risk reward becomes like insane. But this is the trade idea on GJ. Definitely going to take this if it comes up to the yellow zone. I don't even care if it results in a loss. Then it comes up into this area, and we can then look for further sells. And even the risk reward on this becomes pretty good once we hit our ultimate target. So I'm just going to put this on here. This is definitely a trade that I'm going to personally be looking to take this week. Interested what you guys think on GJ. If you guys think GJ is going to continue to move to the downside with the price action it has now, it is pretty much just going sideways at this point on the 4 hour, even though these are pretty big swings, right? It's just resisting this zone. So let's see if it comes up in this area again. Will it end up breaking this floor or will it hold as resistance? Considering the weekly is telling me that we're looking for some sort of reversal back down into this area, I'm probably going to look for sells. Now, if it just starts to go extremely bullish, we get no rejection, I'm not going to look to buy personally until we break kind of this previous high point right here. And yeah, that's kind of how I feel on GJ, but curious what you guys think on GJ. Anyone that trades GJ a bit more, what's your overall outlook? I'm looking for a stop on high, too short. GJ. Yeah, it's definitely on the 4 hour forming downtrend structure. Right now you could see the overall trend right here is definitely bearish. So we'll see. We'll see if it holds below the yellow zone. So coming over to GJ before we do NAS 100. So GJ, this is where we were last week, or GU, I'm sorry. This is where we were last week. We had said that if price hits the red zone and then forms this where we have a break and retest, we would then buy. As you could see, this failed entirely. Like, we didn't actually get in on a trade because of this. So price came down, we had the lower high form, and then we just pushed to the downside. So this was not a trade that was executable, but as you could see, we forecasted for the potential idea there. Coming up to the weekly, GU is just in an unprecedented area right now. I mean, there's not much to be said about GU where it's at. It's never closed below this area before. So we're just in totally unknown territory right now. I guess going all the way back to 85, it actually came down. So we come to the monthly, going back all the way to 1985. It has hit 1.05 before. So I didn't even realize that it has actually been here before. Let's mark this on here. So that's pretty much the floor on GU. It's never gone below that area, and we're forming just downtrend structure. I mean, the weekly has been in a downtrend for quite some time, since breaking, like, literally years and years and years, but it's now establishing a break of support right now. I mean, we have 9 days left in this monthly candle, so really it would have to pull back in this last 10 days or whatever, 9 days, to then establish this level of support here. But looking at the weekly, just closed, huge engulfing. There's really nothing telling me that this thing's gonna not continue to go lower, at least according to technicals. And then looking at the 4-hour time frame, I mean, look at this. Price broke support right here. So we're just looking for this thing to head to the downside. I mean, looking at DXY, it looks like how we're mapping out these other pairs is for DXY to continue bullish early in the week. And that would just mean GU would keep pushing. And if that's the case, I mean, there's really no trade to take on this. We need to see a pullback. Like, I would need to see a pullback into this area. I see resistance. I see support. I see support right here, right? I would need to see some sort of pullback into this area before I actually entered this. But GU is just in no man's land. I'm not really looking to take a trade personally on GU right now. So I'm just going to leave that one the way that it is. I'm going to move GJ up because that's actually a trade that I would potentially take this week. And then last but not least, let's get into this NAS 100 trade. So we had taken this trade 2 weeks ago on the call, and then we ended up closing it about here. We closed it like right around here for like a 2% gain. Then it ended up going up a bit more for 3-1. And then now, as you can see, this thing's just moving to the downside. So we can just take all this off. Let's just come back up to the weekly and let's just see where we're at on NAS 100. So looking at the weekly, we're in this downtrend, right? And then now we just broke. I'm actually just going to delete some of these levels here just to clear things up a little bit. So we just broke this level of resistance right here. Whenever there's a break, normally there's a retest. So it looks like right now we're coming down, looking to retest either this previous high point or this main support level. I have this mapped out based on this right here. And then there was some consolidation in here. So this isn't like the cleanest level in the entire world, but a lot of liquidity grabs in this area, seeing all the wicks, resistance right there. So price is going to push into this level, more likely than not. We just had an engulfing on the weekly time frame. And again, there's just nothing stopping this thing from coming down back into support. So coming into the 130,000 level, this is really what you're looking for, some sort of consolidation, and then a breakout of the resistance where buyers just break the selling pressure. And then you're going to look for this thing to get back into this uptrend, because on the weekly, it has broken into this uptrend. So this is definitely the trade idea that I'm looking for NAS 100. If you want to scalp sells, down into the lower level, you could always come down to the 30-minute and start to get crazy, look for the resistance, and just scalp the sells. Personally, not going to do that. Just going to wait for this trade to play out. So that's my idea on NAS 100. No, a lot of you guys trade NAS 100. So make sure that you, or if you have any ideas around it, feel free to drop, in the chat. I'm not going to cover US 30 because I personally don't look at that one. But let's see, we got one person's chart here, NAS 100. Yeah, so I mean, you're overall just mapping out, again, very bearish price action. You've got the fibs marked from here to here. You've got your zones. So we had this like double top in this area, and then this has hit the negative 61.8 at this point. So it's very overextended right now. So looking for a pullback to some extent is definitely like ideal at the moment. So coming back over to this, let's see, what time frame is this? Oh, this is the 1 hour. Let's hit the 1 hour and see. Yeah, I mean, looking at the 1 hour time frame, again, if you're going to trade this, looking at this analysis, definitely looking for it to come back up into like the 134 area before looking for extended moves, the downside. I'm personally just waiting for this swing trade coming into this level. That's just kind of how I'm trading, currently right now. But yeah, that's pretty much it for all my analysis when it comes to the major pairs and then NAS 100, which is what I follow. If you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to post in the chat. Again, make sure you guys post on your IG story, tag the Funded Trader, tag Forex League to enter the giveaway. We're going to give away one account as we do every single week. And then BTC, I mean, didn't have a great week last week. Did not have a good week last week. So
no, not the best.
BTC 11% down.
I was actually getting a lot of notifications all last week.
Yeah.
From crypto.com. BTC is down. ETH is down 11%. Like, it's just.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is as expected, guys. We hit nearly this 25 level and we just rejected it pretty harshly. I'm personally just waiting. It's going to probably come down into the 12 area now. It's just very bearish at this point. This is not like the antithesis of bullish pressure. This is just weak buyers coming in, waiting for sellers to like dominate. So yeah, I mean, we know BTC, every time it's about to run, the thing just takes off. It moves up 10%, doesn't move down 10%. Right. So I mean, we're looking at a very bearish BTC. We're in the crypto winter. A lot of people have fallen off. All the IG gurus are dead. It's an interesting time. It's an interesting time for crypto. I know a lot of people don't even want to hear about crypto because it's down so much, but
yeah,
this is when you gotta buckle down, buy your crypto,
Yep. That little flicker of bulls are the dollar cost averagers. That's
Yeah.
what that is.
Yeah.
You guys buying in. But I mean, like we said last week, right? I mean, we saw that it was bouncing a little bit. And we said, do we believe this is, is it going to keep going up, or, is this sustainable by any means? And not really. We looked at it. The reality was that it's probably not done pushing. Even now, probably not done pushing. But when it does take off, I mean, it'll make itself known. You'll see it on the chart, and then the media will start covering it again. The extra McDonald's strategy.
This thing is really gonna push. This is gonna test everyone's limits. It's gonna come down. Like someone said, 3,700. To at least come into here. If it goes to 3,700, like the world is gonna just be on its head.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, at that point, you guys, if we get that low, you should just take a book out of our pages and, realize how calm we are on the calls. And we know, there's a long-term game. Anyone who's panicking or freaking out, was playing the short term. They threw too much at it too soon. You gotta spread it out. You gotta plan accordingly. This is definitely a long-term game. I mean, we spent what, 2.5 years in consolidation after the first rally in 2017, I think. Right. So, at most, we could say that's the time we'll be waiting, But again, 2.5 years for these kind of percent increase or percent gain is better than anywhere else you're really going to find. So it's really the best way to approach crypto is just with logic, just see it as a long-term thing. It's not get rich quick, even though the returns are high. That's really it. Just got to plan for it long term.
Long-term planning. This is not financial advice. This is TFT
No.
Forex.
This is experience, based on experience. That's it.
Has not seen a
Not
real
advice.
bear. I mean, Lee, come on. This is a bearish. This is as bearish as you can get. It's down.
Yeah, that's pretty bearish.
It's down 70%. We're definitely in a bearish market. We've been in a bearish market since this. And this has been a bearish market. We broke the major support. Let's not give it credit. Give BTC credit. It's a bear. It's a bear.
The biggest bear I've ever seen, bro.
Yeah, it's a big bear. So let's give it credit where credit is due. And we'll wait. I mean, I do believe it's gonna come lower. Like we said, do believe it's gonna go lower. I think there's no reason for it not to at this point. Everything is indicating it's gonna go lower. You've got firms imploding, Celsius losing everybody's money. There's a lot of stuff coming out about that. I mean, I do know that Ethereum is going into ETH 2.0. Like, I don't know much about it, but apparently that's being successful right now.
Yeah. It seems good. It seems good as of right now, but we'll see.
I don't know. We're simply speculators. I mean, we're just
we just follow.
We're just speculating where it's gonna go, buying in. I do think crypto is, in a way, that's very, very unpredictable, as we know. So
that's true. But one good advice, we'll close on this. Greedy just brought it up in chat. Get your coins off exchanges, guys. Get the Ledger Nano. Things are going to be changing. We've already seen it, right? Exchanges are taking, some heat. They're under some scrutiny. So it's best to be safe. Get your money off of that, because technically, if your money is on an exchange, it's their money. So just be careful out there, guys.
Good sign off. So just some updates. We've got a few things going on this week. TFT, we've currently got a promotion going on, so you can get the 85% profit share upon passing and 150% refund. You got to use code Golden Era to get in. The giveaways currently don't have anything going on with TFT giveaway wise. We are going to give away the account for this session, so I'm going to announce the winner after this. And then Forex League, we're having a webinar tomorrow. It's a free webinar anybody can come to. We're going to go over some updates with the community, answer some questions, and there will be a giveaway on there as well. So feel free to stop by if you guys want to come. I believe it's at 10 a.m. Eastern time, but check in the Telegram for Forex League. And then TFT, another update with them this week. I believe this week, or actually it's going to be next week, so I won't even announce it. So that's pretty much it. So wish you guys the best of luck with the challenges. Hope you guys enjoyed the analyses. We'll be back on next week to see how things played out. And thanks again, guys, for all the support.
Yeah, absolutely. You bet we'll be back next week, guys. Take care.
Peace out, everybody.
Peace.